Hey guys, this is Archon. Recently on the live stream at twitch.tv, a lot of the viewers have been asking me about what kind of stats they should be looking for on gear they're buying if they want to do a critical mass build as a wizard. And so I've kind of been doing this rundown a lot, and I figured it'd be easier to just make a video that I can reference that kind of explains my theory on itemization for critical mass wizards. Other people might have different theories, and I'd love to hear about that. So if you guys have any input to add, please leave that in the comments of this video. But this is just what I've found that works well for me, and I think it will help you if you're starting out as a critical mass wizard. So of course, probably the most important thing you want in the critical mass build is a lot of crit hit. I have 52%. You don't need that much. I would say at the bare minimum you're going to need 20%, but it's going to be hard with that. The build really doesn't start working well until you have about 30% crit hit chance. Now you don't need any crit hit damage to make the build work, and crit hit damage isn't even going to help the build work. It's just going to cause enemies to die faster, obviously, because it's going to increase your damage. But I wouldn't worry about getting crit hit damage off the bat. Get your defense solidified first, and then you can worry about getting that crit hit damage, and that's going to up your damage really fast because you have such a high crit chance. Instead, when you're first starting out, it's good to have a lot of resistances. I have 1200 here. You don't need that much. If you wanted to do Act 3, I would say get at least 800 with prismatic armor on. And then if you want to do like Act 1, you probably want about 400. And I think the most undervalued stat, probably by anyone, but definitely by critical mass wizards, is armor. Keep in mind, armor is going to do the exact same thing as all resistance does for you. There's all this hype about all resistance, and no one's talking about armor, but it's probably cheaper to get extra armor on gear than it is to get all resist on gear. And again, it does the exact same thing. In fact, 10 points of armor is equal to 1 point of all resist. So if your all resist is greater than 10% of your armor, armor is actually going to help you out more. But an easy way to do the calculation is to divide armor by 10 and then compare that to all resist. So for example, this chest piece gives 275 extra armor. That's just like giving 27.5 all resist. So you can imagine this chest as giving about 107 all resist. You can also keep in mind the natural armor, because sometimes you can get higher or lower natural armor. But again, that's just as important as all resist. And the reason that all resist and armor are so important is because it's going to keep your diamond skin up. Your diamond skin still gets affected by all resist and armor, so the more of that you have, the longer it's going to stay up, and that's really what's keeping you alive. And all damage you take is going to pass through both all resist as well as armor. So for example, if you had an 80% reduction from all resist and an 80% reduction from armor, you're only taking about 4% damage. So it's really important to get both all resist and armor and not just focus on one. Now there are a few other stats that are really important for critical mass. One is life on hit, and I would suggest getting life on hit on your weapon, naturally on your weapon. You can get it in a socket. You can socket life on hit with an amethyst. But you can only get up to 600 life on hit with a socket, and you can get up to almost 1,000 life on hit natural on a weapon. So it's better to get natural because, for example, critical hit damage, you can get up to 100% with a gem, which is the same as you can get natural on a weapon. So if you're going to do both, I suggest looking for a weapon that has natural life on hit and then socket the crit hit damage. You could also socket life on hit if you feel like you're not getting enough. I think around 1,000 life on hit is good. More than that, I feel is kind of wasted because most of the time you're going to have diamond skin up and you don't really need to be getting life back. So you just need enough life on hit to refill your life after you take some damage. The other places you can get life on hit is on your amulet or your rings, but they're kind of expensive to get there and you can't get nearly as much as you can get on your weapon. So the easiest way, I think, is going to be putting it on your weapon. The next thing that's really important is arcane power on crit, and I think the easiest place to get this is on your helm. You can also get it on your weapon or your offhand, but your helm is usually easiest because there's other stats you're looking for on your weapon and your offhand. On your helm you can also get crit hit chance, but beware, helms with crit hit chance and critical hits grant arcane power are really expensive. So if you don't have a lot of money, you can go ahead and forego the crit hit chance on Helm and just get the arcane power on crit for now. You really want that life on hit and that arcane power on crit, or this build's going to be a lot harder. Now, the more crit hit chance you have, the less arcane power on crit you need. You see, I only have it on my Helm, so I have 10 arcane power on crit, but I do have a 52% crit hit chance with my Scoundrel out. If you have a lower crit hit chance, you might want to try getting more arcane power on crit, which means you're going to have to get some on your offhand or your weapon. But 10 is probably going to be enough for most people. And as offhands go, I suggest getting a shield instead of a source. Of course, a source can give you a lot more damage, and a shield can give you a lot more defense. But when you're starting out as critical mass, defense is going to be most important. Defense and crit chance are what make the build work. Once you have that down, then you can start adding the damage. But if you're dying when you get into the packs, if you can't stand in the middle of an elite pack and tank it, then critical mass just isn't going to work well for you, and it's not worth it, regardless of how much damage you're doing. So get the defense down, get the build working, then start adding some int, start adding some crit hit damage. You can see I've gone super tanky. I only do about 16,000 damage here. And most wizards will go more defense than this, less tank, and that's fine. I kind of went to the extreme of defense, but it's mostly because I play with groups and I like to be able to tank, because in the critical mass build you provide a lot more utility than you do DPS to groups. If you can keep a group completely stun locked, keep them from moving, and keeping them from attacking anyone, you're doing a lot more for your 4-man group than you ever could putting out 2 or 3 times as much damage. Vitality isn't as important for critical mass wizards as it is for, say, a barbarian tank. I have about 31k health. You could do it with even less. Make sure you have enough vitality to stay alive. I would say at least 20,000 health, but don't worry about stacking it. If you're going to stack anything, it should be resistances and armor. So hopefully that'll give you a rough idea of what you're looking for. Honestly, the best way to decide how much you need of each stat is to play around with it and decide for yourself. Once you get your initial build put together, go out, try it out, see what you need more of. If you're running out of arcane power, you might need more arcane power on crit. If your life isn't coming back fast enough, you might need more life on hit. And of course, if your diamond skin is wearing off too fast, you need more resistances and armor. I hope this helps you find what gear you should be looking for and how you should itemize your wizard when you're doing the critical mass build. For more information on wizards and just to have some fun and hang out, please come visit the Twitch channel. We live stream every day for about 8 hours, and it's just a lot of fun. We play a lot of games, and we just have a really good time. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll have another video for you soon.